Hey everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do a comparison review of the Saucony Hurricane 24 and the Saucony Tempus 2. Now, this is going to be an after dark review because now it's getting into the winter in the Northwest, which means it gets dark really quick. So I'm doing my best with all the lighting setup, trying to make this work. And I appreciate your patience, and hopefully the lighting actually works out. But this review is actually being done because a lot of people are asking for this. I'll be doing another comparison review of the Tempus, which we've just got our hands on, just got to review it after I got a good 30, 40 plus miles in this shoe, and now can compare it to a lot of other stuff confidently. And the biggest comparison is going to be within Saucony's own lineup, which is now the Hurricane 24, making these two some of the few stability shoes on the market that actually have a super foam in them, both of them having Power Run PB, a PEBA-based foam in them. So if you're watching this, I'm assuming your big question is, which one of these should I consider? Because I'm looking at these, maybe I like Saucony, maybe I need some stability. I'm trying to figure out, I want something with a little faster foam. Which one of these should I consider? So I'm hopefully going to help you answer that question. As always, let's start off with specs. I measured these in my size 10. So the Saucony Hurricane 24 is coming in at 11 ounces, or about 314 grams in my size 10, or about women's size 11 and a half. The Saucony Tempus 2 in my size 10 is coming in at 9.4 ounces, or about 264 grams for my size 10. So there's a significant weight difference. The Hurricane is the obvious more trainer-like shoe of the two of them. The Tempus is going to be the more up-tempo, faster, potentially more the performance trainer to the recovery easy day shoe of the Hurricane. And that is exactly how they feel, despite the fact both of them actually having a very similar sole setup. Not similar, but similar components, be it Power Run PB for the most part, but also Power Run frames throughout this, and in the Hurricane being a little bit more at the bottom to create a little bit more stable sole and a little bit of a kind of a sidewalls and things to roll into to create a more centered ride. The Tempus 2 more has that set up in a way that kind of goes along the arch, and that not quite as much at the bottom unless you get to the forefoot. So this shoe, a lot more Power Run PB. This one, a greater amount of Power Run to compare, but that also makes them ride very differently, and that the Hurricane is really best for easy, slower runs. It does not feel very great trying to really pick up the pace. Yes, it is the bouncier and softer of the two of these. The Power Run PB is immediately noticeable, and there's a lot of it, despite the fact these both actually have fairly similar stack heights of 38 millimeters for both of them in the heel. The Hurricane has a 32 millimeter forefoot, whereas the Tempus 2 has a 30 millimeter forefoot. So 6 millimeter drop over here and 8 millimeter drop over here. Now, again, the lower drop feels much more significant in the Hurricane because it has a much softer midsole material. A lot of the Power Run PB is sitting right under your foot, and you got to compress the waist to actually get to the Power Run. Whereas the Tempus 2 feels a little bit firmer. It's not an overly firm shoe. It just feels like a snappier, slightly firmer performance trainer / performance shoe. And the Power Run is sitting right up against your arch on both sides of your feet, then gets a little bit lower in the forefoot. So different shoes, where the Tempus 2 actually feels, to me, not quite as good at easier efforts. It feels better at up-tempo or faster efforts. I've done most workouts you can imagine. I've done a track workout, fartlek, tempo run. Really feels best, and also long run. The up-tempo long run felt good. The tempo run felt good. Fartlek felt good. The track workout felt like I was maxing this stuff out, and I would probably want something lighter, but it can still handle some pace changes, whereas the Hurricane just isn't going to do that. It's 11 ounces in my size 10, much softer ride, much more cushy, much more relaxed, so better for your recovery easy runs, whereas the Tempus can do that a little bit. It can be a daily driver, but it does better kind of picking up the pace. So this is going to be your, hey, I actually want a stability shoe that can handle maybe a marathon, and if I need a little more stability, if I'm coming from something like the Hurricane or the Keanu, whereas the Hurricane is going to be your easy daily shoe. Maybe if you don't want the fastest shoe and you still want to use it for a marathon, you could totally do that, but it's not going to be the faster two of them. It's going to be the more relaxed. This is going to be the faster of the two of them. On that note, durability is actually fairly similar. The Tempus 2 kind of wins out because I have previous experience of Tempus doing really, really well, up to 200 plus miles, still being fine. So I've got 40 miles on this pair, and it's doing great so far. It's actually really, really handling really well. I've got about 50, 60 miles on the Hurricane, and I'm seeing a little bit extra wear, which is kind of what happens when you have a softer shoe. Slightly firmer shoes tend to last longer. Slightly softer shoes tend to wear out a little bit. That's just probably how soles are compressing. It's just been personal experience. So both are decently durable. I'm going to just give a little bit nod to the Tempus, just being a little bit more. When it comes to fit, these are also super different. So the fit of the Tempus 2, I was actually surprised. The last version fit fairly normal. This one fits a little bit snug. The new mesh upper is much more secure, holds the foot really, really well, but it's a little more snug and has a performance feel. Hurricane has a much wider feel throughout the length of the shoe. So heel's a little wide, midfoot's a little wide, forefoot's okay. It's just really, it's much lower volume, even though there's some stretch to it, and the toe box tapers a little bit. So if you're sensitive to that, maybe neither one of these shoes are gonna have the best because both of them have a little bit of tapered toe box, but if you need a little more room, Hurricane's gonna be better. If you want a little less room, a little more snug performance fit, the Tempus 2 is gonna be the better option of the two of these. Now, these are both really stable that I've noticed. The Hurricane feels more centered. There are significant sidewalls on both sides, but it doesn't really feel biased one way. It feels more centered and stable in that way, whereas the Tempus to me has actually felt like there's more significant midfoot support. There are sidewalls. Yes, you've got the Power Run PB and the Power Run influence, but there's a lot more of that Power Run foam on that medial side and under the foot right here, which just gives it more of that post-like feel, which is not supposed to technically be a post, but if you like that medial arch pressure, the Tempus 2 is going to be the better option. If you don't like that, but you still want a softer, stable ride, that's where the Hurricane 24 is really going to come in. Both really solid shoes. Really excited to see Saucony pushing this stuff. I do hope more companies consider maybe looking at some of this stuff in terms of, does a stability shoe have a place to have super foam? I don't know yet. I'm still testing this stuff. They've got some versatility, but we'll have to see how other people respond. So that's where this follows up to the final point is, can you let me know what you think? As always, I'm having experience, and while this is supposed to review it, be helping you, I also want you to leave comments below if you've tried these two and tell us, do you agree or disagree? These comments really help others that are coming to this place to figure out which shoes are going to work well for them. So please, if you agree or disagree, leave a comment below and let us know why. And as always, hope these reviews are helpful.